Good morning and praise the Lord, everybody. Listen, happy Mother's Day. We're so excited. Now I realize this day might be difficult for some, bittersweet, but we're all going to pull through together, all right? And at the end of the day, we're going to trust the Lord. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light, salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light, salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light, salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? And I will wait on you. I will wait on you. Ooh, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Ooh, said the Lord is my light, salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? I will wait on you. I will wait on you. And I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Listen, I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Oh, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light, salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? And I will wait on you. I will wait on you. And I will trust in you. Yes, we will. And I will trust in you. Ooh. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Yeah. confident in this, I will see the goodness of the Lord. I will remain confident in this, I will see the goodness of the Lord. I will say it one more time. I will remain confident in this, I will see the goodness of the Lord. Yes, I will. I will remain confident in this, I will see the goodness of the Lord. And I will wait on you. And I will wait on you. Here's the more important one. And I will trust in you. And I will trust in you. And I will wait on you. I'm going to stay right here till you bless me. And I will wait on you. And I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Through the good times and the bad, I will trust in you. Keep on believing, and I will trust in you. Keep on believing, and I will trust in you. Keep on believing, and I will trust in you. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Ooh. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. You are good. You are good. You are good. You are. Good morning, good morning. We are indeed trusting Him. We are believing Him and trusting Him if today is a difficult day for you. The older I get, the more my heart goes out to those who are suffering loss. One of our own really going through it today as we just laid her mother to rest. Just a little over a month ago. So make sure you take time today to send love to a mother. And that's that. I think you want to be respectful of all people. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so somber. Because, it's a day to celebrate. My heart has just been with those who I know personally who are dealing with the loss and all that. But we're praying for you. We love you. Stay in the race, and we're here with you together. In other news, very excited to see we didn't quite start the broadcast at the right time, and see a couple of people are like, hey, what's going on? Is we're not doing Collide today? Oh, there'll always be a collision. So we're sorry for that delay. Again, happy Mother's Day, especially happy Mother's Day to my mother, Sylvia Marie Hairston. I can't say too much more because I will start crying and I don't feel like doing that today. Happy Mother's Day to my grandmother, Sylvia Marie Borden. Love her so much. 91 years old. Be 92 this year, if the Lord allows, in September. And a big, wonderful, happy Mother's Day to my mother-in-law who gave me my wife, Barbara Jean McCurry. We love you so much. Happy Mother's Day to my baby and my wife, the mother of my children. We did it together. And I admire how she handles her kids with grace. She's handling them now. It's supposed to be her day, but when it falls on a Sunday and hubby and daddy's a pastor and all that, just work it out. But ladies, I'm cooking for all the women after service. No, I'm sorry, all the women in my family. Well, you are part of my family. No, all my oh Jesus, oh Lord, immediate family. We're having a small gathering, a brunch of sorts, and I'm cooking. Oh yeah, I can cook. Don't sleep. And a happy Mother's Day to my sister, Dree Danielle Parker, and little baby Kamari, bundle of joy. All right, let's get into it. A quick Mother's Day message, some thoughts. Today is going to be very interesting. I want to talk about mothers, women, and mothers. Don't necessarily have to have a baby to be a mother, to fill a mother's role, but women, and we're celebrating women today. And as we celebrate women and celebrate mothers, we are not slamming men. It's not what we're doing today, okay? So I may say something against men, but we're not slamming men, right? No, we are focusing on women and we're lifting them up. And we're going to bring up some points about a familiar text that just might not have thought about before. So I believe this will be very interesting as we walk through this today. Happy Mother's Day. Our verse, go to Exodus chapter 4, verse 24 to 26. Exodus, and it's raining. Okay. Exodus chapter 4, verse 24 through 26. And it says, New American Standard Bible, always, or New Revised Standard, or New Living Translation. Anyways, now it came about at the lodging place on the way that the Lord met him and sought to put him to death. The him is Moses, by the way. Then Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and threw it at Moses' feet. And she said, You are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. Verse 26. So he let him alone. At that time, she said, You are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. And that's our text for today. A very difficult text. Some might argue an obscurely placed text. But our text, nonetheless. Let's deal with it. Considering Mother's Day, y'all, hold on, give me a quick second, y'all. I've been all weekend, it feels like. Okay. Have you ever watched Maury Povich? The Maury Povich show, and that you are not the father. The paternity test determined you are the father. Lie detector test determined that was a lie, right? And then they run backstage, oh, they're crying and all that. Interesting to note that when you watch that show or any show dealing with paternity tests, and the mother and the alleged father's there, it's never the alleged mother, and you've never heard Maury Povich say, with 99.9% accuracy, the DNA test determines that you are the mother. Never heard that, have you? Why? Because it's no question, it's no doubt who the mothers are. Mother, for the most part, is always there, always present, always making an influence. Again, for the most part, I know we have a few who don't, but large in part, mothers are there, right? When you think about it, how do the kids get fed most of the time? Again, I'm not hating on the men, because I'm one too, but how do the kids get fed most of the time? It's a mother to make sure of that, right? How do the kids get bathed? It's a mother usually making sure that. How do they get dressed? How do they get to school? It's usually mom who's cleaning up after them. Now, men, we should be helping. Lord, help me. Help my unbelief. We should be helping and should be doing more, but it seems like sometimes we just slip into, well, she's got it, and she looks like a superhero, and she looks amazing, and she's handling everything. And you know it's true because you see the memes, and all the memes, and she'll share the memes with you. I wish I had 1,000 arms. I wish I was doing this. And just for some reason or another, mother's just handling everything. And I don't know what it is, y'all, but I end up sitting on the couch with my phone watching the game. And I'm like, you really should get up there. But then I'm like, but she has it. But then a day later, she looks so exhausted. Why are you tired? Because mother is always there. She's always doing something. Mother doesn't take a day off. You never hear of a dadcation. You have a momcation. Why? Because mom is holding it down. Again, you've never heard that lie detector or that paternity test say that you are not the mother. There's no question who the mother is. She's always there. Mom is always there. So today we celebrate mothers and a mother and mothers in Scripture who are always there and made a way for some of the men we love. We'll talk about the men a little bit, but it's mainly about the mothers, all right? Again, our verse. Now it came about at the lodging place on the way that the Lord met him, as Moses, and sought to kill him, put him to death. Then Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin. She circumcised him and threw it at Moses' feet. And she said, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him alone. At that time, she said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. Woo, what does this text mean? Come on, say with me. It's going to be good. My title and message for today is Mother's Day Trust. Mother's Day Trust. Talking about trust today. Trusting mom, trusting God. Mother's Day Trust. So when we get to this text, Exodus, the book of Exodus, second book of the Bible, chapter 4, verse 24 through 26, there is a context leading up to this story. And we won't go through the entire story of Moses, but we will cover much of it. He's out in Midian, right? He killed someone. And let's not forget, Moses has murdered someone and then hid the body. He hid the body in sand. Well, that didn't work because Pharaoh saw it and wanted to kill Moses for it. So Moses flees to Midian. Later on in the Old Testament, we'll see this thing called cities of refuge. Oh, this is so good. Cities of refuge, where if you committed a crime and you think there were like mitigating circumstances about the crime or the murder you did or killing someone, like, hey, there's a reason I did, it was self-defense, he was attacking me, he was touching my children, same reason I would be put in jail if I seen anyone put their hands on my wife, my mother, or my kids. Yeah, pastor would be locked up so fast. You could go to a city of refuge, right? But this happens before that's established, but Moses does it. He flees to Midian. And he's in Midian, and he's met these wonderful people, fine people, right? And he's met Jethro, he's met his wife, and while he's there doing what he does, he is pasturing Jethro's flock. We talked about that last week, being a pastor. The Lord is my pastor. So he is tending to Jethro's flock, and he noticed there's a burning bush. Now, this wasn't too uncommon, right? Because you're in the desert, you're in the heat, you're in the Middle East, near the equator. It's always hot. And at times, depending on how hot it would get, bushes would catch on fire. Shrubs with no life would catch on fire. But what made this different is that though it caught on fire, it didn't burn up. It wasn't consumed. It just stayed lit on fire. There's some preaching right there, but let's keep going. God calls to Moses out of that burning bush. He announces plans to deliver Israel. He then gives Moses strength and power to demonstrate God's power through a raft. He throws the rod down and it turns into a snake. He picks the snake back up and it turns back into a rod. And Moses is tripping and he's like, this is something. He puts his hand in his tunic and he brings it out. It's leprous, white as snow. He puts it back and it's back to normal. So God is showing him that he's going to use Moses in a mighty way to deliver his people, right? He appoints Moses to be the object, it's Mother's Day, the object of God's mouthpiece, to speak for him. But Moses says, I'm slow of speech, right? Now, an interesting thought. Is it slow of speech? And many people will say he stuttered. He was a stutterer. Did Moses have a stutter? The text doesn't say that. Think about this. I'm slow of speech, heavy of tongue, right? Well, Moses did a whole lot of talking in the 40 years, at least at this point, he's been on earth, raised in royalty in Egypt. He does a lot of talking afterwards. No one in the text mentions how bad he speaks. If it was that bad, if someone had said something, wouldn't have been obvious, wouldn't have been a constant thing, wouldn't have been Aaron's suggestion to be the mouthpiece instead of God's. Moses does a ton of talking before and after this with no problem, seemingly. So is Moses really slow of speech? Growing up, think about this, a lot to think about. Growing up in royalty, son of Pharaoh, Pharaoh's daughter, speaking Egyptian, which is by far a different language from Hebrew. Egyptian being an Afro-Asiatic language. Hebrew being an ancient Semitic language, which is a branch of Afro-Asiatic languages, but still different, right? Not quite the same, but different, and more different than like Spanish and Italian or Spanish and Portuguese. No, different. But he's speaking to Hebrew people, and now he's out here speaking to the Midianites. You know, I'm a Spanish speaker as well, but I'm not a native Spanish speaker, so I can roll. But sometimes, you know, if I'm getting deep into a conversation, I have to think a little bit to think what I'm going to say as I translate it, and I get literally a little slow of speech. There's nothing wrong with me. I have no speech impediment. But as I'm trying to speak and think in another language, I have to slow down and speak. Thank you, Dante Thompson. So could it be that? Or could it be I'm slow of speech, I'm heavy of tongue? What I believe and what most scholars would agree with is an expression of humility. He's not literally saying he can't talk. He did a lot of talking. It's an expression of humility. And in this time and of the world and culture, it was common when you felt you were before someone who was superior to disparage yourself and say, man, I'm nothing but a speck of dust in your eye. I'm nothing but your lowly servant. You see that in the Bible. So Moses does it too. Hey, I'm slow of speech. He's being humble. And it says in Numbers 12, verse 3, that Moses was what? The most humble man on the face of the earth. So it wasn't, mind blown, that he stuttered. No. He was humble. He was like, someone else should take the job, not me. I'm inferior. He thought little of himself. Interesting, huh? He sends him, after this moment, back. He said, let me go back and say goodbye to Jethro and my family. He saddles up his sons, his family, his wife, on a donkey, and they go, and on their way from Midian back to Egypt, they stop and lodge overnight. And when they're lodging, God comes and he says, I'm looking to kill you. Now, just before that, they're out in the desert, and God again talks to Moses and says, listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. And because basically he took the firstborn of Israel, I'm going to replace them, and I'm going to take their firstborn. I'm going to take Pharaoh's firstborn. And then when Moses leaves from this on his way to Egypt, God meets him, stops him, and threatens him, and is seeking to kill him, seemingly because his firstborn is not circumcised. But his wife, Zipporah, saved the day. She stepped in and she circumcised the child, and we'll explain all that what that means really soon. And she touched it, the foreskin to Moses' feet, and that's a euphemism. What's a euphemism? It's what it means is that is to substitute saying something harsh with something very pleasant, right? So instead of saying, hey, if you don't, if you keep acting like that, you're going to go to hell. That's very harsh, right? You could also use a euphemism and say, if you don't act right, people don't act right, have their place. A softer way but saying the same thing. So instead of to say he touched his feet is euphemism for genitalia. Yeah. So what it's really saying is that she took the foreskin and touched it to Moses' genitalia in some kind of ritual, in some kind of ritualistic thing to solidify their marriage, save their son, save their marriage, and ultimately to save the mission. Zipporah, his wife, the mother of his child, steps in and saves, and God was going to kill Moses. We're going to deal with that in a moment too, because you couldn't have told me this earlier, God. We've been talking all this time, all this revelation, and you couldn't mention I need to have my son circumcised. We'll deal with that really soon. And all this is going to happen because if Moses got killed, there is no deliverance, there is no Israel. Everything is back the way it was. His wife steps in and saves him. Mother's Day trust. But wait a minute. Moses was not only saved by his wife, the mother of his kids, Zipporah, black woman from Midian. Hello. Cushi, go to Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. They took issue with her because she was a Cushite woman. Cush is Africa, in black Africa. So anyways, to make that known, because scholars won't tell you, but I will. Moses has been saved already by 7 women. 7 women and then 7 daughters, which make this 7 on 7 just perfect. It's the perfect scenario of how these women have intervened in Moses' life to give us the Moses that we now have. Let me argue my case. We start early on in Exodus with 2 women, 1 and 2, the first 2 that saved them, Shiphrah and Puah. Who were these? These were the Hebrew midwives, right? And they were helping the Hebrew women give birth. Pharaoh and the Egyptians got intimidated because the Hebrews were outnumbering them. And they think, man, if we go to war, something happens, they're going to come together and we'll be outnumbered. So he says, you know what? Here's what you do. When they have a baby, if it's a girl, let her live. If it's a boy, kill him. And that was the order that was given to these Hebrew midwives. Now, they feared God, the text says, more than they feared Pharaoh. So they decided not to do it. And they kept him alive. But when Pharaoh heard of it, he said, now what's going on? I thought I told you to kill them. And they said, oh, king, but the women, they're not like the Egyptians. They're vigorous. They're strong. Before we can even get in there to help them birth the child, they've already had the children. So they're having males. They feared God. God was good to those midwives, Shiphrah and Puah. And the Hebrew women multiplied. Now, they pretended like it was the women, but really they disobeyed direct orders because they feared God more than they feared Pharaoh. What are you saying, Jay? They stood up for Moses, hence why Moses would go on to stand up for others. When the king gave the command to kill them, they refused, they opposed, and they stood up for the innocent lives of these baby boys and said, we will not, and came up with a way to keep them alive. They stood up for people, and their stance resulted in Moses being able to be born. And because they stood up for Moses, they imparted into Moses a willingness to stand up for others. That's how he met his wife, because he stood up for them. That's why he ended up killing that Egyptian, because he stood up for the Hebrew and he stood up to Pharaoh. My God, these 2 women, mothers, saved Moses. Number 3, I told you it was 7. 3, Jochebed, the name of Moses' mother. What does she do? We get her name in Exodus 6, chapter 20. What does she do? She gives birth to Moses, and she hid him despite the king's decree that all kids, all male children should be killed. She keeps him for 3 months until she could no longer hide him. And the story says she put him in a wicker basket, covered it with pitch and tar, and placed him in the reeds in the Nile River. But here's the interesting part, because she's number 3. Miriam is number 4. And the daughters of Pharaoh Number 5, how does all works together? Wait a minute. We think we know the story, but when you carefully read it, you see something different. So what happens? This is so good. 3, 4, and 5. She puts the basket in the water, right? Let me give you the story. In the reeds, now his sister Miriam is standing nearby watching because she wants to see what will happen to her brother. At the same time, the daughter of Pharaoh, 3 women, she is bathing in the Nile and she sees this basket. She takes up the basket, sees the baby crying and takes pity on him and says, you know what, I'll take him and keep him to myself. Now, she knew good and well what her father said, but she decided to spare this child and bring him, adopt him as her own. Now, meanwhile, Miriam is watching. This is such a good story, y'all. You gotta read it. Miriam is watching to see what will happen. And the minute Pharaoh's daughter picks him up, Miriam says, I have an idea. She runs up to her and says, hey, should I get one of the Hebrew women to nurse him and be the wet nurse? And she says, yeah, that's a good idea. Take him to a nurse and she can breastfeed him. And of course, Miriam takes him directly to his mama. So wait a minute. So now Miriam functions as a mother because she saw what was happening, watched and waited. Then she got in the midst of it, interceded when she saw that Pharaoh's daughter had got him and drew him out. She interceded and then delivered, come here y'all, delivered her brother back to his mother. She interceded and delivered her brother back to his mother. Hence why Moses would go on to be a chief intercessor and why he would be the deliverer of his people. Why? Because that mother, his sister, that woman put that into him. Thank God for Miriam. But not only that, now that Jochebed, Moses' mother, now she has her baby. This is a well thought excellent plan. She has the baby and she nurses him until he weans. Now back then, you would nurse someone for 3 or 4 years. So Moses spends part of his foundational years in Hebrew culture, Hebrew women with his mother being nursed, her putting it right into him. So she birthed and nourished Moses. Hence why Moses would birth and nourish leaders, because she birthed him and she nursed him and brought him to health. Ooh, I bet you never heard the story like this before, have you? It's there in the text. So now we have 4 women. Now the 5th, the daughter of Pharaoh. Like I said, she took pity. She brings him out. She puts royalty and education in Moses. She brings him up, teaches him the Egyptian tongue, right? Raises him in the palace. Now he knows royalty. He is a son of Pharaoh. He is a son of the house. Now Moses can speak several languages and lead and govern people. Why? Because Pharaoh's daughter led him, saved him. Looking at Moses' mother again. It's Mother's Day. She weans him. And I can't imagine how difficult it was. 4 years old. He's talking now. He knows who you are. To have to turn him back over to another mother. What I want to do is speak to those who might be hurting, because at a young age, you lost your mother. At a young age, life happened. At a young age, things switched, things changed. And just like this text, you had your mother and then suddenly things changed and they were gone. I'm praying for you today. Pray that God ministers to you. I can't imagine how difficult it was for the mother who wasn't quite fit to have a child. The mother who wasn't quite ready. I'm not saying this is Moses' mom, but the mother who had to make the hard choice to turn her child over, to give the child up for adoption. to let the child go stay with a grandmother or an auntie because mom wasn't fit. I'm praying for you. How difficult must it have been for Moses' mother, attached to her baby, knowing it was hers, but in order to make sure he was alive, gave him up. I can think of another mother who would give up her son, that he might save. My God. Ain't this powerful? Man. Jochebed. Let's start over again. 7 women, right? Shiphrah, Puah, Jochebed, the daughter of Moses, Miriam. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Number 6 is I just lumped the daughters of Jethro into one, right? They represent one, even though there's 7 daughters. 7 on 7, it's just perfect, right? Because they come to draw water from the well for their flocks. And while they're out there, some shepherds come and they harass them, drive them away. Whatever it was, it angered, it upset Moses, and Moses comes to their defense. He stood up for them and he drove the shepherds away. Now, it was many shepherds. One Moses, or Moses must have been a physically intimidating character or strong. I don't know what it was, or maybe they saw that he was Egyptian. They didn't want no parts. I don't know. But he drove these grown men away. And then they bring him to their house to have dinner, where he meets his wife, Zipporah. And where he meets Jethro. Jethro, the wise-giving, counseling sage, priest of Midian, who will keep Moses out of a lot of stress and heartache being a leader by giving him sound advice and counsel. So they saved Moses in the sense because they gave him an opportunity to release his gift. They gave him a chance to flex who he was, a defender, a deliverer. He stands up for the little guy. And they introduced him to wisdom, to Jethro. They saved him because without wisdom, where are you going? And then finally, number 7, Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro, Moses' wife, Moses' black Cushite wife, right? And if you go to Numbers 12:1, this is so interesting today, guys. Miriam and Aaron had a problem with Moses because they're like, oh, you and this Cushite woman, you and this black woman, y'all married now, and you think that God can only speak to you? Well, he speaks to us too. You ain't no better than nobody. And if you read the text and the context of this and the culture, what they're really saying is, oh, you think you're right now because you got with a black girl? Woo! Remember, because Africa is valued and cherished back then. It's not despised like how it is now. We're not a racist country. Whatever. Anyways, Africa and African wisdom is cherished. So yes, Moses marrying this woman elevates his social status, but they think, oh, because your social status is elevated, that don't mean you somebody. We know who you are. And God can speak to us too, and then God intervenes. It's like, no, actually he is elevated because he's mine and I've sent him. And then again, you also see in verse 3 in chapter 12 of Numbers is that Moses was the most humble. So remember what I told you that he said, I'm slow of speech? No, he's humble. So he doesn't literally have a speech impediment. Who in the Bible had a speech impediment? He was so humble. He said, oh, not me. I can't even put 3 words together. I'm not good. We do that today, don't we? Don't we? Someone gives you a compliment. Girl, that dress look good. It's in the back of my closet. It ain't nothing. And your hair is amazing. Oh, girl, I just pressed to that. Huh? We do the same thing. This is interesting. So she saves Moses. She saves the day. Why? Because he's on his way back to Egypt to do this big thing that God has called him to. But he missed a big thing that God called him to do. Let me say that again. He's on his way back to Egypt to do a big thing that God has called him to, but Moses forgot to do a big thing that God called him to do, and that is circumcising your children. Now, let's talk about circumcision. It's all going to come together, and we're going to have a wonderful Mother's Day and go home, and I'm going to cook and make the best dinner they've ever had. Circumcision for ancient Israel was a badge of covenant identity, right? It linked future generations to the promises of Yahweh, and the promises he made to the patriarchs. Circumcision was a ritual. You did this on the 8th day when you were born. It was metaphorical. You have uncircumcised heart, uncircumcised lips, an uncircumcised ear, which means to literally cut around and cut away. It was ethical, because if your heart is uncircumcised, meaning if you haven't given God your heart, if you haven't submitted your heart and entrusted your heart to God, right? To cut away whatever's guarding it and blocking it and give it to him to reveal the intimacy of yourself. If you haven't given that to God, you're no different than a pagan nation who circumcises, right? Like it doesn't, so it's more of a heart thing and honoring the covenant. Let's talk a little bit more about circumcision. Circumcision, when God made a promise to Abraham, and he says, you will be the father of many nations. You will be blessed. Many people will come out of you. You will have kingship in your lineage. Your descendants will be as numerous as the sands. And then in Genesis 17, you find this in 17, 1 through 14, but in chapter 17, verse 10, he says, this is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. Every male, anyone among you, whether it's a servant, whether it's a foreigner, a visitor, whoever it is, every male must be circumcised. Why? Because I'm making a covenant with you. I'm making an agreement. I'm going to bless and propagate your family. I'm going to make sure you spread and multiply. It's such a great honor. I mean, the biggest honor you can imagine. He gives this to Abraham on the account of faith. And he said, and what you do to honor this and to demonstrate your faith is to circumcise every male. What does it mean? It means to cut off the foreskin and the tip of the male genitalia, of the man's penis. You cut this off. Now, here's the interesting part. It's not that just God wanted blood. It wasn't he was just sick. The whole world basically practiced circumcision for many different reasons. It was practiced all over. In this region, it was practiced in Africa, in ancient Australia. You find this in Central and South America. Many practiced it for different reasons, right? But what made Israel unique is that they circumcised early on in life on the 8th day. Most everyone else circumcised later on in life. It was a right for a man to become a boy, to become a man as he began to go through puberty, and he got circumcised then, or just before you got married, you would get circumcised. So it was a symbol of getting married, or the symbol of becoming a man. Starting to come together. But for Israelites, they got circumcised as an infant on the 8th day. You cut away the foreskin of the male penis. Sorry, Brooklyn and Bailey, if you all are watching, you don't even know what that is. And stop listening right now. No, I'm playing. They cut away the foreskin, right? They cut away at the instrument used in creation, in procreation. Isn't that interesting? God promises you he's going to bless you, that he's going to increase you, that you're going to multiply. But then he says, but give me a piece of the thing that you'll use to ensure that you will multiply. Isn't it interesting that the thing that God has promised you, the thing that he's trusting and that you're believing God for, is often the very thing that God wants you to release and to give up? Those believing for more money, he first asked, bring me the tithe. Give me money. When it came to the offering, right? When they offered animals and sacrifices, there's a meaning for this. Stay with me. He said, give me the firstborn of your flock, and one without defect, the one that's strong, the one that's good, the one that's healthy, can see. Don't give me those lame and blind animals. No, give me the strongest one, and that's the one you sacrifice to me. Interesting, because when you had flocks, you would normally take the strongest male, that was the most healthy, the most dominant, and you use that male to impregnate or sire the rest of the flock.
if you take the strongest male and put that with all the women in the flock, talking about animals, that ensures then that his seed and his DNA, that male, is in all the offspring. So now you have flocks upon flocks that are reproducing with that same strength. And thus you ensure you have strong animals forever. And instead of using that to make sure that your future is blessed, God's like, give it to me. Why? Because he wants you to trust him. Not to trust what you can do or what you have for increase, but to trust him to provide the increase. So the thing that you would use to get the increase, God says, give to me. Not what you have, not your rod, not your staff, not your money. I will give you the increase. That's why he asked for the tithe. That's why he says, give my body 10% at least. You hold on to your money, you make money with money, right? But God is saying, but if you trust me with it, I'll take the 10%. Is this a Mother's Day message? Yeah, it is. And I'll make it represent the whole thing because it all belongs to me. If you give me the firstborn, if you give me this part, if you give me your foreskin, if you trust me with it, I promise you I'll bless you. So that's why circumcision is such a big deal. And it's a sign of the covenant. And in Egypt, circumcision, ancient Egypt, was a mark of passage from childhood to adulthood. In Israel, it marked keeping God's promise to have a future generation and to have a future. In some places it meant boys to men. In other places it meant I'm about to be married. Here's where this all comes into play with our text, chapter 4, Exodus, verse 24. Now it came about at the lodging place on the way that the Lord met him and sought to put him to death. Then Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and threw it at Moses' feet. She touched it to his testicles, his genitals, and she said, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So now we're mixing this. Could this be for marriage? Could this be for trusting God in the future? But Zipporah wasn't a Hebrew, so did she know? She was Midianite, so she came from somewhere else. So we have all these contrasting ideas and beliefs about what it means to circumcise, but all Zipporah knew was that the boy needed to be circumcised. How could you go back to Egypt and do the thing that God has called you to do, but forget to do the thing that he's called you to do? And that's to circumcise, to entrust your child and your future to him. But there's so much going on here, and it's confusing. It is, but let's walk through it. And she cuts her son. They stop what she's doing, and she averts the crisis and circumcises him and performs whatever ritual and said whatever she thought she needed to say to make it okay. But wait a minute. Here goes your point. In Israelite culture, it was, in all those cultures actually, it was customary that the father would circumcise. Now we have an uncircumcised, undedicated child who the father was supposed to do it, but didn't do it. Can I preach to you on this Mother's Day about how sometimes the mother will step in and step up when the father is not doing his job? Can I talk to a single mother that doesn't have any help? The man won't pay child support. He don't do nothing. He come by and give you a pair of shoes. Every once in a while, he give you $100 and think like it makes up for the whole thing. Or he's worried about how much money you spending on yourself and realize a child, everything I have, everything I do, it goes for this child. Can I talk to the mother that don't have no help right now? So I talk to the mother that's doing it on her own, and mama may not know exactly what to do, and she might not do it the best, but she's trying. And where the father had dropped the ball and where Moses should have circumcised him to give him a life, mom steps in without any child support. Can I talk to somebody this morning? Mom steps in. Who is the mother? A lie detector test determined. The paternity test determined. You are the mother. Never said that. Never said that. Woo! I need some water, y'all. Hold on. she did the best she could with what she knew and what she had. She wasn't Hebrew. She wasn't Israelite. She was Midianite. So here's Zipporah like, listen, all I know is that God's getting ready to kill you because you ain't circumcised this boy. You still ain't done it. But where I come from, it could mean that we're officially married now. It could mean that he's ready for marriage. It could mean that he's ready to be a man. Or it could mean where you come from. I don't know what it means, but I know I got to do something. And she grabs the flint knife and she cuts him. Mama may not have known exactly what was happening, and Mama might not have always done it the best way, but Mama loved you. Yee. A moment of grace for an imperfect mother. A moment of grace to say thank you for a mother that might not have got every single thing right, but she did make sure she gave you your life. She made sure you were alive. She did whatever she could, especially when Dad didn't step up. Whew, but wait a minute. Zipporah, child's mother, Midianite wife, she helps the Egyptian man realize his Hebrew roots. The Midianite wife, come here, helps this Egyptian royalty realize and reconnect with his Israelite, his Hebrew roots. Moses, do you know who you are? Moses, have you forgotten who you are? Because some scholars would offer and suggest that Moses wasn't a stranger to his family. Uh-oh, this gets good. That he knew who his family was. He was weaned off at around age 4. But the text says they never talked again. They don't say that. And when Moses and Miriam get together, you know, it hardly seems like they're strangers. And then why would the text tell Aaron to go out to Midian to meet his brother if they never met? Why would God say your brother Aaron can speak on your behalf? If he never met Aaron or never knew Aaron, why wouldn't they indicated that Moses had some kind of surprise right there? Like, I have a brother? Oh, my brother. Well, I have a brother? They knew each other. Can I suggest that Moses kind of knew the best of both worlds? And I don't know how it worked out. I don't know exactly how those details shook down, but they met him, and when they met, they kissed. You don't kiss a stranger. Thank you, Dante Thompson. You don't kiss a stranger. You kiss someone you know. So he meets Aaron. They weren't strangers. They knew each other. So this Moses, with an identity crisis, Hebrew at his roots, raised Egyptian with a Midianite black wife. And she's like, okay, look, all I know is that whatever's going on, Gershom, his oldest son, needs to be circumcised because that's why God's going to kill you. That's why God was angry. And that's why he's about to kill you. And then she grabs flint and circumcises him with flint. Now, we're in the copper age. Copper's been around for such a long time, copper and metal. But she still uses an old school remedy to cut him. Isn't it interesting, come here, Mother's Day, that Mom usually knows exactly what is needed to get the job done? Woo, whatever's going on, Mom knows. When that child falls and busts their knee, Mom knows what to do. And they run to Mommy. Mommy, what should I do? Mom can tell because Mom is connected to the child. She's connected to the situation. Her emotions, her heart is connected to everything around her so she can feel. And she knows what to do. Mama knows best. A woman's intuition. They don't talk about a man's intuition or father's intuition. They talk about a woman or a mother's intuition. So she knew to get the right tool, the old school. The way it's supposed to be done, the way it's done in your culture, Moses. Ooh. Then she says, you are a bridegroom with blood. You are literally a blood relative to me now. So it's a mixture of rituals and practices of something that should have happened earlier. But all we know is that as she scrambled to save her son, her husband, and her family, she got it done. Can I suggest again that mom may not have been perfect? And there's many times that mom was scrambling, trying to find and trying to make ends meet. And there's many times where you didn't know how difficult it was for mom. You didn't know how many tears she cried. You didn't know how much pain was in her body. You don't know what she went through. But somehow mom found a way to get it done. She found something and she scrambled and she got it done just in time to save your life, just in time to deliver you, just in time to turn in that school project before it was due, just in time before your husband's stomach was hurting too much. She gave you dinner just in time. Mom intervenes in that. It wasn't perfect, but she got it done. Yeesh. But wait a minute. God and Moses did all this talking, all this conversation, the burning bush. I'm going to send you to Pharaoh. Let my people go. Let my people go. All this talk, all this who I am, all this intervention, all this women saving me, all this Hebrew culture, all this Egyptian culture, Midianite culture, all of this, and we done talked, and wait a minute. Now you're going to kill me? Because I didn't circumcise him? Maybe he knew, maybe he was supposed to know, maybe he didn't know, I don't know. But he's so mixed up, there's so many things going on. It's like, God, you couldn't have sent him a reminder? This came out of nowhere. You just told him he was going to deliver him, and now you want to kill him? God, are you crazy? It seems like it. He's not crazy. It comes out of nowhere. This was unexpected. It was unplanned. We didn't count on this happening, but for some reason it happened. And can I talk to you that for some of you who became mothers, it wasn't planned. It wasn't expected. It kind of came out of nowhere, but here we are. You didn't plan to be here. You didn't talk about it. You didn't make the right plan. You didn't use the right protection, and somehow you ended up with the baby, and 9 months later, here we are, and we are here. But can I talk to you that even though it might have been planned, that God will still make a way. Even though you might not be married right now and have a kid, God will still make a way. He still honors you and can still use you, who you are. Things happen. Life can come left and right, but God will make a way. And he will touch and send people and use mothers to make a difference. My God. What Zipporah ultimately did, I'm wrapping up actually. She saved her son. She saved her husband. She saved all of Israel. Why? Because she was observant and ready for action. She didn't know exactly how it was supposed to go down. Should he have been circumcised on the 8th day? Because, contrary to popular belief, we don't get manuals on how to be mothers and parents. We figure it out as we go. So could it have been I was supposed to circumcise him on the 8th day? Was I supposed to wait till he got married? Were we supposed to do it when Moses was supposed to be circumcised? I don't know. Whatever. But she observed that whatever it was, she observed and she discerned. Why? Because whatever it was, she knew that, okay, he's angry. And the best way to mitigate this anger is to circumcise him. Who told you, Zipporah? How did you know? What book did you pick up and read? How long have you spent time with the Hebrews to know that was their culture? But your intuition kicked in, your discernment kicked in, something in your femininity, in your motherhood kicked in and said, this is what I need to do right now. This is what my child needs. And because she was attentive and observant and ready, none like a mother who's ready to spring into action. My mama, I love her, ready to spring into action. She said, I'll beat a monkey's behind, Lord. And I tell you what, if she ever came across one, I'd be scared. I'd be praying for the monkey. I'll be praying for the chimpanzee. Don't play with her mama and her kids. Don't play with her sheep. Don't play. Whatever it was, she was observant, attentive, and ready to move. Like I said earlier, the kids normally get fed. Why? Because mom busts a move. Dad might bust $1, but mom puts the place on the table. And is that the way it should be? No, I'm not saying that, but that's how it happens, and man, we got to do better, and we will say amen. Amen. We will do better for a couple of days, and then we slip back. No, we're going to do better. Ultimately, Moses was saved because she circumcised her son. What is circumcision? In a one big word for today's message, my message title is What a Mother's Trust. It is trusting God with your future. To cut something away and to give it to Him. To trust Him with it. So ultimately, Moses was saved because of a mother's trust. Now my question is this. Who are we saving because we're ready for action? Whose life are we going to change? Whose destiny are we going to dramatically alter because we are observant? We're looking out, we're paying attention, and we're ready to spring into action. Whose life can you change? What young child, what young boy, male or female, can you speak into and be a mother to, be a father to, be a leader to? Whose life can you intervene and make a difference? 7 women saved Moses' life. It takes a village, oh my God, to raise a child. Whose village are you a part of? Who's your village? Who is trusting God? Moses was saved because women, mothers, trusted God. Shiphrah and Puah, the midwife, trusted God and did the right thing by disobeying Pharaoh. Jochebed, Moses' mother, trusted God by releasing her child into the basket and releasing him a second time, giving him back to the daughter of Pharaoh, but trusting that he would be alive for such a time as this. And Zipporah trusted God by taking quick and decisive action. And despite all that's happened, will you be willing to trust God as well? That's my Mother's Day message. Will you be willing to trust God as well as these mothers do, as these mothers did? Because as you trust Him, you're saving someone. As you trust Him, you are making headway into your own future. As you trust Him with your money, as you trust Him with your heart, as you trust Him with your life, as you trust Him with your decisions, when you give it to Him, He will take it. Whether it's 2 fish and 5 loaves, He will take it and multiply it and make sure that the rest is blessed for time to come. Won't you trust in Him? Let us pray. Lord, you are our light and our salvation. We don't fear anybody, but we wait on you and we trust in you. We put our heart, we put our confidence in you. We put our money in you. We are trusting. I'm a living witness that we just reasserted our trust. We are trusting in you to be who you said you are. Trusting you more than the powers that be. Trusting you more than we trust the government. Trusting you more than we trust politicians. We trust you above all else. And we will do right by you. Whatever you say to, we'll do. And this trust will result in somebody being blessed. This trust will result in someone being changed. This trust will result in us being multiplied and increased. This trust results in you being God and having control of our lives. And for that we do thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. My family's coming right now. Happy Mother's Day. Let's do some announcements real quick. If you want to trust Him with your finances, it's not money games. We're going to talk about it real quick. Go to letscollide.org/give. Give something good. Those who tithe and give 10% of your income. Thank you. That's how we'll be able to open one day. We can't do it without your giving. And please know that we give, me and my wife, we give too. We give above 10%. I'm not going to tell you how much, because it's not about bragging, but we're not just asking. We do it too. We are in this. We're in this together. You can text to give, 84321. Text it. It's so easy. Just try it. That's the way I do it now. Send a little text, and it's done. You can use the Cash App. $ The Collide Church. And always you can mail it in. You can mail it in. The Collide Church, P.O. Box 361142, Strongsville, Ohio 44136. Listen, we pray that blessed you. We pray you got some out of it good. One last thing. I know it's Mother's Day, but I want to tell you all about this because I'm so excited as we're talking about trusting and investing. And again, the message was for mothers and for trusting. I'm not trying to make a ploy for this, but listen. Let's invest. A 4-week virtual class on what? Personal financial management and investing. We're going to send this out a little bit later and share more about it soon. But basically, it's going on. What's this, Jay? What we're doing, a lot of people have been asking me about Dogecoin, cryptocurrencies, which I'm invested in a number of them and have done well. But the truth is, I've also lost a bit too. And you only invest what you're willing to lose. But here's the thing, though. I got afraid because a lot of people were talking about investing in crypto, was highly speculative, highly volatile. You can be up one day and gone. For example, if you're in Dogecoin, you're feeling good last night till about 11 p.m. And then it took a dip. Oh, ugly. I don't want to look at it right now. My God. But it can happen. But these people who are throwing their money in cryptocurrencies, which is cool, make the money. But if you don't have your base established, of having a budget, of having a savings, of having debt eliminated, there's a proper way to do this. So we want to teach you all how to do this, but do it the right way. And not me, because I'm not the financial guru. I'm bringing a good friend of mine named Kyle Lott, and he's going to lead us in this. So this starts on Saturday, May 22nd. It's going to be a 4-week class every Saturday at 10 a.m. via Zoom. It will be virtual. If you want to register and sign up for this, it is online at www.letscollide.org/let'sinvest. Again, https://letscollide.org/let'sinvest. The registration, $30 for individuals. For couples or pairs, $50. And that's all you do. But you have to go register and get your ticket. If there's anyone who absolutely cannot do that for some reason, because I don't want to assume, because we're still in pandemic, and you need help, you need a scholarship, please let us know. Say, I want to come to the class, but I just don't think there's a way I can do it. We have others who have given, and they want to provide a scholarship for you to be a part of this class, right? So I believe that's about it. Brooklyn, is there anything you want to say?
Don't forget to letscollide.org. And my mommy can't come because she's resting on the couch. Yeah, she has to rest.
Okay, well, way to just tell her business. But it's her day. And she's had the kids all morning. So as soon as we dismiss, is going to be me and these babies. And we have a couple of surprises for Mommy. But you can't say it because Mommy's watching. Bailey, anything you want to say, Bailey? Sakela Bobo. Say it again. Say Happy Mother's Day. Take that out, girl. Say Happy Mother's Day. Say Happy Mother's Day, Brooklyn.
Happy Mother's Day.
Hey, you have a wonderful, wonderful Mother's Day. For those who this is a difficult day, we're praying for you. Celebrating the mothers. Love a mother. Trust God. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Go to letscollide.org.
No, how do you say bye in Spanish?
Say adios.
Adios.
Adios ustedes. All right, have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon.